Hi guys, my name is David and welcome back to another episode of Pax's Little Library of Horrors. The series where I continue on the series which Pax Panic left off, and I'm doing this in their memory. And this is also the series which I am talking about children's horror. So the book that I'm going to be talking about today is called Witches. This is a Usborne's storybook, probably said that wrong. And it's done by two guys, Christopher Rawson and Stephen Cartwright. Cartwright rather. I got this during the Halloween period, with all my other books I got during the October period of last year, and this is one I didn't manage to get to. I have read this, but it was a while ago, probably November or maybe December. But I just wanted to share it with you guys so I can pass it on. So this is simply called Witches, not really much of a imaginative title there. And on the cover it has two witches in red. Not sure why they're in red. My closest guess, or my most educated guess rather, is that it would make the characters pop off the page and make them more visible, rather than if they were in their traditional black outfits, or maybe like a navy blue or a darkish purple. It wouldn't have really made them, like stand out. It would have made them like blend in. And yeah, they're doing little cooking thing in a cauldron with all bits and pieces in it, and has potions and all that type of stuff on the background, and some cats as well. And they're both stirring up all this little yummy stuff. And there's woods and the house and the witch on a broomstick in the background. So this is done in kind of a comic book type of style thing. So it's not a comic book as such, but it has these like comic style type of paneling which you have to read, in a traditional sense. So you open up, and Christopher looks like he wrote this and Stephen illustrated it. So the illustrations are really, really well done. They are really great. When I was reading this, I was thinking about if Terry Pratchett read this when he was a child, because if you know his witches and his wizards and his whole magic thing in his Discworld series, even though I haven't read that much, this seems to be a lot like them type of witches, which there seems to be a lot of humour in this book. Well, unintentional humour. But this first one's called Witches and Imps, which it basically says like some witches are good, some witches are bad. You have some dudes that are witches, which are called warlocks. Not sure why they aren't called wizards, but yeah, warlocks, and they fly around on pitchforks rather than on broomsticks. And you have some magic which is good and some which is evil, and apparently good magic can reverse bad magic. You have a witch flying on a door, very unusual, with a crow, and people looking up and saying, oh, what's going on here? And this is all like in a different type of story. And a witch steals a bell, runs away. It's like a massive thing. It's probably weighs a ton, and she puts it in a little boat, and of course it sinks. And this one, which is called The Witch Who Lost Her Broomstick. This is about a witch that obviously loses her broomstick, and she has to go to is it a party? Yeah, a party, and she can't get there because she can't find her broomstick. So she decides to rather turn a wife of this, I think, farmer into a horse which she can go to this party with, or she can go to this party because she's got transportation now. And there they are, having a little party, and the horse is conscious about being a woman, but the witch gives the farmer back, this horse, as a present, so it seems. And then the woman turns back to normal, and yeah, it's very charming. It's very charming. But this one's the two city witches. So yeah, I think that this is about these two witches that have this like boss, like say, kind of like not an evil but more stern boss. We've all had them, which take their job way too seriously, and they find this magic book which has a spell, which is a spell book, and I'm pretty sure they are told not to recite a specific spell, which obviously they do, and it results in not too great things. And also this rope with all these knots, and I'm pretty sure it states that if you undo a specific knot, if you undo one of the specific knots or whatever, it results in bad luck, and all the rain comes down, and how the cat's on the door, and the witch comes back to the house, and they're on the roof with always floods around their house. And the next one's called The Black Witch and the White Wizard, and this is about a farming family that discover that there is a witch living or sleeping rather in their barn, and when she's told to bugger off basically by the little child, he puts a spell on the child to make them think that they are a animal. I think in this case maybe a dog. And they go to a wizard, which I absolutely love this picture. I really do. If you've read any Terry Pratchett, going back to his stuff once again, this is very, very much in the same style of what would happen in one of his stories. And he's like looking down, saying, "Oh, what should we do now?" And he has a crystal ball, which he's talking to the witch, and makes some spells and potions. Goes on for quite a bit, and the witch gets hers, and the family are turned back to normal. Next is the Farmer's Revenge. She's milking a cow and putting it into a wooden barrel. And as far as I can tell or remember, the witch was somehow had this pump which she was pumping out all this milk and stealing this farmer's milk from him, because at the start it was like looking in the barrel thinking, "Oh, what's going on? Where's all this milk?" And she has a spell which she can transport the milk from this barrel to this pump, which she takes for herself. Very selfish. And the farmer decides to pull a prank on her by tipping in soap powder into this barrel, and when she pumps it and she drinks it, she gets all bubbly. This next one was a very interesting one called Janik and His Brothers. Not sure how you say that, but these brothers are like sleeping in a graveyard, as you do. I mean, why wouldn't you? And they discover this massive hole, which one of them, I think the smallest brother, goes down, and they drop a rope down, and he comes through the clouds, and he finds this mysterious kingdom in this hole in the churchyard. In a churchyard, I think it is. And he finds this princess, which she has some sisters. Conveniently, there's 3 sisters and 3 brothers. And he finds a sword which he pulls out of the stone. And I think the sword has some magical powers and abilities. And he's a hero, and he rescues the daughters, and they are pulled up to the world above, as well as a chest of gold. But when it comes to his time to be brought up to the world above, he is kind of abandoned by his brothers. They uh, toss down the rope so he cannot climb up. And I'm thinking, okay, you have literally tried to kill your brother um, when you receive these princesses and this amount of gold. Then, as the story progresses, he fights all these monsters and becomes a hero. And eventually, he decides to, well, apparently, he flies on the back of a wizard. Don't know how that works. Don't know if the wizard is Superman. But he goes to the world above, and his brothers are shocked to see him as well as the princesses. And his brothers are like, "Oh, sorry that we abandoned abandoned you, and sorry that we tried to kill you." And it's all hugs and kisses. Obviously, each brother gets a princess, and they have the treasure chest there. So, yeah, that was a good story. I actually like that one. And this next one is kind of like a two-page spread type of thing, which is like Witches at Night, and it has this church in the background, and it has all these things going on. Has like an owl in the tree, has these witches dancing around each other, yeah, doing some witchy stuff, some spells. Has a sorry, has a witch doing a cauldron, and it has a witch looking at a sign which says that witches don't here. So I mean, that was one of the things that they did to prove if you weren't a witch, you. I think that if you floated, you were a witch, and if you sank, then you were a human. So it didn't really have any good outcome. And in the church, you have a priest, which is looking out, thinking, what the hell's going on here? And it has a skeleton creeping over a headstone, as well as all these bats and witches flying on broomsticks in the background. And I just noticed that there's a boy in the bell tower covering his ears. So this is a great case of one of these pictures where you can just look at for ages and discover new things as you look at it and your eye wanders throughout the image. And that is it. There's just a picture of a witch with a cat and a crow or a raven. Oh no, it's a cat. It's a pig with a flute. And yeah, that's witches. I like this one. It was charming, I'll say that. It's just a kind of a, not really a history book, but right, here is some stories based on witches and wizards. It's not really grotesque, but or horrific, but this is something that you could easily read to a child at night. Not too young, because it probably frighten them. And I enjoyed reading this one. There are other books in the series, which is Giants and Dragons, which if I do find them out on my travels, then yeah, sure, I will pick them up and give them a try. Not sure if they'll be appropriate to read for a video about children's horror books. But let me know, have you read this one? What did you think about the book in general, if you haven't read it before, if you haven't heard about it? Did you like the story? Did you like the artwork? But I had a lot of fun going through this. The stories in it were very good. Some obviously were better than others. Probably the one with the three brothers, and the one where the witch turns one of the children into a dog, or thinking that they were a dog rather. And let me know what you thought about this video as a whole. I tried to mix it up with some other stuff. I've got a bunch of Edward Gorey stuff in my room, so expect there to be loads of videos on this of this series based on Edward Gorey stuff. But from time to time, I will be breaking up as best I can with stuff like this, so you're not just getting just Edward Gorey stuff every single month or whatever I decided to post this. So that's been my video, guys. Please do not forget to check out the founder's channel on the founder of this whole series, Pax Panic. I will have a channel linked down below. She's sadly no longer with us, but I decided to carry on this series which she created in honor of her and as a friend of hers, and it's a nice thing for me to do. And yeah, hopefully you had fun watching this video, and with all that out of the way, I'll see you on my next one.